Okay,
I think we'll just have to do it.
yeah, so we'll start our land use and planning meeting without Cynthia at the moment. We'll see if she can make it, but, we'll call this meeting to order. I have, hello, you made it.
I'm here.
All right.
This rainstorm just popped up.
I know, I had to run home and grab a sweater.
I just thought I'd get wet, I don't care anymore.
All right, so did we get minutes from you, Cynthia?
Yes. July 9th. I should have gotten them here. Did I not send them out?
I don't know if I saw July 26th.
July, what,
I have July 9th.
July 23rd? Yeah, 'cause I know I don't, because I know we did them last week. Let me look, because, you know, the last 3 weeks have been kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. If not, we can just approve the ones now. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to find, oh, maybe I will.
Okay. Yeah, nope, that's agenda, just kidding. I don't see.
You know what I may have done?
Hmm,
Did I do the 9th as the 23rd?
I saw the 9th, and I think I saw that today, but like from Public Works.
Okay.
So we'll just put that onto the next.
Yep, put it on.
Yep.
Or you do my trick, which is you write them all up, you're so happy to get them done, you're done. You don't send them out, but they're done.
Right, well, that's what I was like, oh, God, did I put them in there? Which very well,
Howdy.
which very well could happen. Hey,
Okay, all right, so because Brian just walked in, let's
hi,
switch down
bye.
to reviewing his, applications that he put together for us. Did anyone get a chance to look through those?
Yeah, next year will be Brian. I don't.
Did you look
I
through?
would, if you can do it easily. Thank you, sir.
Steve, I have
Meeting
them
are we in?
here. Okay, so,
Are we land use, is that where I'm at right now?
yep, we're land use and planning right now.
No, you started the right one. I joined it just to double check and make it. You do know that, well, if you log in, they're all there, but you also know you can get there from the webpage, right?
And I have it here.
Okay,
Yes, I have them from before.
That's what I was throwing out.
temporary, so we're looking at the small event and large event applications
And the temporary.
and the
Use.
temporary use permit.
All right, so I have, ooh, a whole bunch of them here. 1, 2, 3.
So if it works handy for you guys, let's just start with the small event use. City-owned land permit. So have fee schedule up at the top, that looks good to me.
Which one are you,
Small event. Because it's the one I had on top, so I figured that's a great place to start.
small event.
Small event.
And it starts out with, you can use this Form F, or you can't use this Form F, right? Isn't that right on the top of that?
It says, use of city permit, please be specific. It has the ordinance that it refers to, and then the resolution 3623, establishment of fee schedule for private events less than
Less than
75.
7.
You know,
75?
the small event doesn't actually say that what qualifies as a small event, like how many
What,
And that's
people.
what I
Less
was
than
looking
75
for, 'cause it was supposed to in that, it says like stop, it's like
Oh, we already
1040
did.
Yep,
EZ.
less than
Yeah.
75.
Yep, so information for review by the applicant, in accordance with ordinance 960, a permit shall be required if one or more of the following circumstances applies. A request for exclusive use of city-owned property, assembling or traveling in unison of city property, involving 75 people or more,
Or
That is large.
that's large.
Because
Well, I wasn't sure if they're pulling it out of ordinance 960, because that's a quote from ordinance 960.
Oh, okay.
That's page one, actually.
And that's,
Pardon?
I did the same thing, but that is a quote from ordinance 960.
Okay.
So I didn't know whether that had to stay in there or not.
So do we have, I'm gonna pull up ordinance 960 here real quick.
Yeah, I have a copy
If
of
you
it.
want, I can, pull it up here too.
Oh, that'd be super helpful.
That's why I did this.
Is this the same one?
We all, yeah,
Unless you've changed them.
I think we
since
got them.
The last, okay.
thank you though.
All right, so. That would probably be the big ordinance.
We'll have to ask him where he got the statement, it's probably old.
What statement are you
Well,
referring
where it
to?
says information for review by the applicant, and it says in accordance with ordinance 960, and then I suspect that he pulled that,
One or more,
So it looks
one
like
or more.
it's 883, permit required, on page 2 of the ordinance.
883.
An event permit must be obtained and approved by the authority or designee for the following events. Do you want to sit here with me? You can.
I figured I'd just sit here and then.
So Brian, in the absence of page numbering,
Mhm.
the first one is you start filling this out before you get to the whether you can fill this form out or not. Is that, or is that?
So it bases off, first conversation is, hey, we wanna rent the gazebo.
Mhm.
How many people? There's gonna be 38 people.
Okay.
I want you to fill out the small event.
This one, small event, perfect.
And you
Okay.
want this sheet to be the first sheet.
Nope. So this shows
This
you the
should be the
fees, what the event is, the applicant name, then you turn over, then it gives you the instructions.
Okay, wait, there's
Yep.
instructions on the back?
I
So,
like to read the instructions before I get started to make sure I'm filling out the right instructions.
Well, then we can put it on the front if that's,
Oh, down here where it says instruction for use of city-owned property application? Yep, right there, I got you. I got
Yeah.
you. Yep,
and so it, information for review by the applicant. And that's where we triggered, if you hit any of these, we're gonna kick you to the large event. So you might only have 38 people, but if you wanna do a bouncy house, we're gonna make you do the big event because we want insurance, we want everything else that goes along with it.
oh, okay,
If you're
okay.
gonna do 40 people, you're gonna sell alcohol,
We're switching.
we switch to the big. So it's not just the 75 people that triggers the large event. It's, there's a list of things here that, to review by the applicant to trigger that. It's not just
And then they would know,
Yep.
after reading this, whether to go
whether
small or large.
to, yeah, whether they wanna fill out the 6 questions for the small event or start over and go to the 13 questions for the large event.
So basically, it's like, hey, I wanna rent the gazebo, so then you're like, cool, here. Read that, and we'll just cipher which one, or determine which one you need, small or large.
Yeah, and like I said, 9 times out of 10, the conversation is, hey, we're having a class reunion, there's gonna be 40 people.
Right.
Here, fill out the small event. They read it, oh, well, we're gonna do this, or
Alcohol, yeah.
Okay.
we might have more than 75 people, well, then fill out this one.
Okay. So, I mean, basically, it's as simple as, I think that's fun. Okay.
So information for review by the applicant, number 1, you took right out of the ordinance, correct?
So, yeah,
yes,
yes.
I'm seeing it right here at 883, permit required. Except for there are some differences in here.
Different verbiage.
Yeah.
Why am I not full screen, I wonder?
Well, you've got request for exclusive use,
Mhm.
which was A, under 883.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
okay.
And
Any-
B is assembling or traveling,
In
okay,
unison.
on city, that's good. C is any event involving 75 people
Yeah.
or more.
That's what we got here, it's on C. Involving 75 people or more using city property, and then what's it say down there?
Then the next one is involves a sale, giveaway, which is the sale of goods,
or service for D,
distribution of alcohol,
that's E,
physical, alteration to property,
that's F.
sale of goods,
Sales of goods up at D.
they've actually repeated it,
Oh.
or solicitation as set forth. And then we kind of go off the rails. But then it requires a temporary waiver,
Yep, there's G, temporary waiver of city's ordinance prohibiting consumption of alcohol.
and the last is sidewalks along Broadway.
Yep, other than by adjacent property owners.
Okay, so one is right out of the ordinance.
Yep,
Two,
That's just instructions.
if any of the following circumstances exist, please complete the city use of city-owned land application intended for large events. Okay, and so then number
and
two,
then that's just us, right? That this, it's not out of the ordinance.
No, that's things that are gonna trigger us requesting insurance,
yes, so
is
that's,
the big one.
so if they come to number one and they realize all is good, then they stick with the small. But if they get to number two,
Well, I mean, even if,
And
On
they're gonna
one-
close the street for some reason.
Yeah, and so if they're gonna close the street, then they go to the large
okay.
event.
Mhm.
And the alcohol's on both, so that's fine. Sale of goods is on both. The special apparatus is on number two. only.
Right, and those are, right, because those are now, we're looking at the large events, because that
And that's
requires
the
the insurance.
part.
Yep, 'cause it comes down to, I can grab 20 of my buddies and go to the park tomorrow with coolers of beer and sit and have a picnic.
Yeah.
But if I want to use the gazebo specifically, that's where the small event form comes in.
Exclusive.
gotcha.
Because there's no requirement for insurance, there's no other requirements. Now, if I wanna grab 25 of my buddies, rent that, and we're gonna cater the alcohol, then we're
Then
gonna,
a large
the city's gonna ask for insurance. We want additional insurance to make sure we're covered. So it's,
Insurance required.
So I think that actually might be beneficial, is to do like a cover letter or a cover page
sure,
that has a breakdown, like, if these criteria are here, like a little less,
Checkpoint.
little less
Checkpoint.
ordinance-y and a little bit more checkpointy, to where they can go through, be like, okay, yes, 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 no, okay,
Right,
we're
like-
now.
Whereas, where we have like A, B, C, D, just
Mhm.
checkpoint.
Yep.
Do
And
these
then-
apply?
Might be, easier than reading the whole big block.
Mhm.
then I really think you'll find that most of the conversations, we know right away which one to use.
Which one's gonna,
Yeah.
right.
The only time that there's gonna be questions is when someone isn't even calling or asking, and they're just going on the website and looking at this and looking at this. Here's my two options, and if they can take the time to read it,
Mhm.
they should be able to figure it out. And then a phone call
Should be,
usually settles it, so
yeah.
I mean, we can add stuff to it, but I don't know that we need a huge list of, before you read the application, read this,
To
to
decipher.
decide which application you wanna read. I mean,
I don't think it has to be a massive list.
No.
I think it could just be basically what you
Bullet
just said, is like, okay, here's your guest count, here's, like, will you have obstacles, is there gonna be something that triggers for insurance? Like, I think that's kind of where, because that's the other
Simplify.
thing too, I'm reading through our ordinance of 960, and when it says permit is required, it just says any event involving 75 people or more, but I'm under the impression now that even if it's 75 people or less and you're getting exclusive access, you do need a permit, so.
that's the only reason, that's the only part that it's for, is so they can have exclusive use to something at the park.
So this ordinance doesn't cover,
Correct.
I'm looking at the ordinance, and it's the amended version, I believe.
Oh.
And I'm looking for where it says small or large.
It
I only
won't,
have 960, it doesn't say small, that's the
it won't
problem.
say small. The
Any
only-
event, permit required, any event involving 75 people or more, sorry, okay,
Mm-hmm.
read that wrong.
And is there a 960 amended?
I don't think there is.
But doesn't it say or exclusive use?
Or, let's take a look. Oh, gosh, I got lost. Here we go. Any event that
Oh, there was a
requesting exclusive.
resolution that
Yeah.
said there's a fee schedule for private events left.
Yep, so any event that is requesting exclusive use of property, any event that involves assembling or traveling in unison, any event, okay, so it is covered there. It's just that exclusive use covers us right there, so that's good. We don't have to change that.
So it was just basically created for an easy form and a complicated form.
Love it.
And I tried to streamline them a little bit more, just
Yeah.
to,
They really needed it.
Okay, the dates of operation, impacts on parking. Discuss how noises from the events will be addressed and mitigated. Trash,
Restroom,
campfires. So that's pretty straightforward. Is there anything else that we feel like we need to know on these? So we have dates and hours, that's
impact on parking, traffic, noise.
requests for camping, descriptions of event.
I think
Um,
it has the requirements that are stated in the ordinance.
The one thing I don't see on here is where it's gonna be taking place.
yeah,
Am I-
location requested.
I think that's on
Oh.
the first page,
Whoops.
or,
Yep.
And I even
now,
put,
second.
I even
Sorry.
added in, please be specific on the city land and area being requested.
Yeah, not just
Because
Lions
if you just
Park.
tell me
yeah.
Lions Park, I don't know, because I've had events for the horseshoe pits,
Mhm.
and I've had events for the gazebo.
Or it could be.
So if you wanna be down by the horseshoe pits, then
I can leave the
the
gazebo open.
gazebo's open for public.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool.
So here, I don't know why the page isn't any bigger than this, why it's not showing up here.
Mhm,
But this is the form if they go to the use of city land,
yeah,
and we talk about small and large.
Right.
And to me, this is where you'd have that bullet list. You may use the small form if, blah, 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 blah.
Perfect, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And then you download it there.
Love it.
I have two questions that kind of came up in here. One of them is you talk about, one of the excluding things that makes you a large event is special equipment, and you said specifically an inflatable structure. When I was on council, and it's conceivable that that could have changed in the last 4 years, but I bet a nickel that it hasn't. MMIA told us specifically not to include events with inflatable houses. And I don't remember if they said they weren't going to be covering it anymore.
I thought we could, if they give us a required insurance.
But somebody's gonna sue them and they have the insurance, but then what happens when they come after the city and the city insurance policy says, we're not gonna cover it?
But on a large event, they have the $2 million coverage for that event.
Like they have to
With
provide.
the city listed as additional insured. So when they do a large event, they're getting their own blanket policy for anything that happens during that event.
Mhm.
And if the city gets sued, their policy's gonna take it up?
That's why the city is listed as additionally insured, so that was my understanding, talking with Jody, the insurance expert,
Yeah.
that, I mean, that's why, if we're gonna do some of the things, if you're gonna sell alcohol, we're gonna bump you to a $2 million insurance policy. Because when
Liability.
drunk Johnny falls off, trips on a curb and knocks his teeth out, that event has the insurance to cover
Mhm.
that incident, and basically the city, we're also covered underneath that.
That additional insurance.
Right.
I think the real concern is if you have an inflatable house that takes off in one of our windstorms, and there's 10 children inside, 2 million's not gonna be enough.
Well, if it's a bouncy house, it might be the ride of their life.
It would be.
It would be fun.
It's the land
Just like
function.
camping
Yeah.
is, okay? Just like camping is the fun part.
And, I mean, so, if we're gonna get that far into it, then we need a specific list of what we don't allow. I
Right.
mean, are we gonna allow awnings? Awnings can take off in a windstorm and possibly hit the kids waiting in line for the
Or
bouncy house.
tents at farmer's market or anything.
Yeah, I mean, and I really think that's why we have a $1 million insurance policy
There too.
for them to do this. If you wanna do this, you are going to give us a $1 million insurance policy.
Yep.
So if something happens, your insurance is gonna cover it.
And hold the city
I
not responsible.
I have a question that's a procedural question. So, we frequently use resolutions to set fee schedules, and the purpose of that is that the fees can be changed much more easily than going through an entire ordinance.
Correct.
But the right to collect those fees is traditionally, in my experience, is granted by the ordinance. And so if I go look at the ordinance 960, and I don't know if there's any value in throwing this up there as small as that's making it. If I go up and look at the ordinance that says, hey, use of city-owned land, which is what's in our city code, our municipal code has no awareness whatsoever of a large event or a small event. I think ultimately, we need to change the ordinance as a large event is this and a small event is that, and then you have your resolution that sets the fees for that. So I think before this process is done,
Just add a.
we can reach out to Dan, and then the municipal code. So if I go to municipal code, which is, and I go use of city-owned land, hi, I'm Joe Bag of Donuts, I've never been to Red Lodge before, use of dedicated memory, money or land for parks, is that it? I know from looking over here that this is talking about Title 8, Chapter 8. So I could get there a couple of different ways. I could go over here and go to Title 8, Chapter 8, use of city-owned land. So if I jump down to use of city-owned land,
Purpose, definitions, application.
this is all set by ordinance.
Is there a definition in that? I can't see that far.
Here.
Oh.
Any event involving 75 people or more, regardless of not they're charging exclusive. We need to add an additional permit that says, in order to charge for it, I think, and I'm not saying we stop doing it and tell it, but I think we probably need to remedy and say, any exclusive use.
It does.
It does, right there at A.
At A, it says any event that is requesting.
Okay, there we go. So so that's our ordinance regardless of, so that's small
Yeah.
ordinance there.
That's
Yeah.
any event.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm all right. So it's exclusive use. I want the gazebo and it's just me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can,
So it's not if any one of the more apply. Okay, I'm good with that.
And the city, C says whether or not they are requesting exclusive use.
Right, but
So
my
what
number A says if you're
Exclusive.
requesting exclusive use.
So,
That's
A
it.
covers
Okay.
small,
Yep.
and C covers non-exclusive use or exclusive use.
Yeah, so A is because it's exclusive, C is because there's a lot of people.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Any event that involves assembly or traveling in unison on any city property, so.
A race,
A parade,
yep.
Race, parade, and it even says, and would include protests.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
would
that's
need to
also-
come get a permit.
Picketing, yeah, because that's all covered in definitions. Would it be beneficial to have, just because of the fees and the fact that we actually have a permit for it, a definition for small event versus large event in our definition?
there's no fee difference.
In the small event.
It's the exact same
Well, more
fees,
so
whether
the
it's,
fact that
Oh.
there are two different event permits, but I guess not, that's,
I think it's covered with A,
yeah.
period.
Any,
I mean,
any event.
Any event.
yeah, we didn't do separate fees for each one. We just made one easy, one kind of the easy form, one the
Yeah.
long drawn out that we're also gonna require insurance.
But I know that this ordinance has, when it says permit required,
Yeah, it's
no, the
covered.
next page, the application, I just wanna make sure that we have everything
Yeah,
on
so
here.
883, and this is actually, like I said, that's one and the same with code.
Right,
So that's what, that is what dictates this code.
but I was going to 885 application, and it has a list of what information has to be on the application. And you
Okay.
already, you made sure that you had all of those?
Well, I wouldn't,
Okay.
Yep.
So here's,
I took what
Yes.
was already here and,
So name, address,
Right.
yes.
We-
Description, so what
Title of
purpose?
event, it has, it says description of the event, is that the same? I don't know about the purpose, description of the purpose of the proposed.
So,
A birthday party, to celebrate the birth of,
well, so let's back up.
Well,
Brian, I'm assuming that if I go to 885 and I look at all the things that are there,
it's
that the
just a-
short form has less than that.
Oh, yes.
And
I don't think
so
so far.
it might be, who's taking your notes of actions? It might be that 885
Mhm.
needs to be tweaked and cleaned up and specifies
That's kind of what I was thinking.
for a small event, the following fields, or actually, you could say, 885 application, all these fields, and then you could also have a small event only requires 1, 2, 3, and 7, or
Right.
whatever the number is.
But the other thing to look at too is
Oh my gosh, I didn't see the next page.
some of this
He's
be
25.
kicked over to the large event if you triggered something. So, bail, proof of liability, that's large. Use of campfire over flames, I think that's on both. Sale
We
of
can
the
take both
city,
vehicles,
that's
so.
large. And so it'd be, we'd have to look at the large
I got you.
See if we can
event
hit 'em all.
too, to see if we had, hit them all. But I'm not necessarily thinking that the small event has to have,
It doesn't have
No,
We'll
to.
have
so
to
I'm
have
saying is,
all-
right now,
everything.
our ordinance says that everything has to have all of this. It
Yeah.
needs to be tweaked to say, if it's a small event,
So just at the top where it says 885, to receive a permit, this application must submit, okay, but then we can say, this application for
Could we
A
small
please
event.
simplify this even more to where application is done per, because right here, to receive a permit, the applicant must submit an application to the city authority on a form approved by the city with criteria approved by the city, and then eliminate all of those pieces. That's all information that can be,
okay, so to your point, since it says a form approved by the city, which is you guys,
Mhm.
the
But
body,
the applicant
the applicant must
the-
provide the
must.
following information if requested. Now you
There
have
we
two
go.
different forms.
So if requested. So we'll change it, say that again, if requested.
Just if requested, after the following information, or
Requested.
as requested is probably what I would say, because now your form, you have two different forms that have different information.
and then it also gives you the ability that you can add things that you want to know, or leave out things you don't
Or
need to know.
eliminate, like, yeah.
Well, I think now you're back to why it's an application, or why it's an ordinance, because they don't want that to be a whim of a hat. So one of the things that was interesting that was discovered as Brian dived into this, on a couple of different forms, we have forms that had stuff that magically appeared out of the ether on the page. There is no ordinance, there is no resolution, there is no, and so that's part of it, is that the governing body has that say of what needs to be there, what should be there.
Okay.
But if you say following
Wow.
information as requested, now that's on the form. So you said you can ask up to these things.
Up to, but not included, yeah.
Do we need to have a big, long list of 25 things that have to be on the application? What if it just says that the application,
Well, like, some of them may not be,
applicable?
yeah, so,
That's what
that's
I'm
why,
saying.
as requested by, then we can, as a city, you can be like, okay, I'm gonna ask you these ones, is this A, B, or C, or,
And I think the next
22,
step is
23,
what's gonna
24.
happen is that there's going to
25.
be a resolution that, I don't know if we put a form on this or a date or something on this,
mhm.
that says the council adopts, this is the version of the small form, that's a resolution.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have it saved as new good application,
New
and I have
good.
the other ones as old not good application.
Okay, we're gonna
says
put
it
that
all.
into the resolution
No
specifically.
surprise.
But I
City
think
now
you're right.
follows, move
But
good.
I would
There
think
should be a
that there
date
ought to
on
be
there.
a revision date somewhere on this form, so that we know people have the right form. And you say,
And
we
we
got the
can
wrong
use-
form, we've got the right form.
We can use a revision date of simply, August 2024
Right.
would be sufficient. What I was saying about 885 application is just having that one first paragraph and adding, as requested, and dropping all 25 items in there, because as time goes on, we may want to add or subtract, and this limits us and tells us what to do. It's
Well,
kinda
I mean,
crazy.
but it also gives, granted, there are 25 questions here, but it kind of gives the city to be able to just kind of breeze through as a guideline on, well, okay.
Yeah, these are
'Cause, I mean,
things
if
that
we
would
eliminate
generally require.
Right.
I see what you're saying on that, Sandy, but at the same time, I think it does.
Is that too simple?
Yeah, I think this does add some good, because we're not always gonna have someone that's been doing it, and then they could come in and not know.
Right, they have no idea what questions
Yeah.
were previously asked.
You could have the line, the applicant may provide.
Well, again, I don't think we need to do that. Like, I think all it has to be is what he said, where to receive a permit, the applicant must submit an application to the city authority on a form approved by the city
As
as requested. The applicant may provide the following information, or
As requested.
application may request following
Applicant,
information.
Must provide the following information as requested, is how we did it with the least amount of words, but.
wow.
Where we just tacked it on the tail end of
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
of those two sentences.
I mean, so you could have 100 questions up there that you might wanna know, but for this application, we only need these 13 things
Yeah.
answered.
And again, this provides, also when someone's going through the ordinance, they can see that like, oh yeah, this is something that they would generally require. Okay.
Mhm.
So we need to do an amendment to, 960.
Well, I already said that.
Going to Sandy's point of earlier, let's suppose there was something else that we magically needed to ask, or that we wanted to include on the form, like the color of your shoelaces. I'm just thinking something.
What do we use,
out there.
any or all?
Well, then, right now, the way I read it is the ordinance says we can ask for this, we'll choose which ones we want to ask for.
If we put as requested.
But we couldn't add what color your shoelaces onto this form if
Right.
it's not in the ordinance.
Because
Right.
you listed
And that may
them.
not be a bad thing.
Because you listed them all.
Mhm.
Well, that's just it, is I think that keeps it from straying off and getting too restrictive.
The other thing, while you're modifying 885 to say as requested, I might formalize an application to the city on a form approved by the city, I would add by resolution,
Okay.
because that tells you, and it tells future generations how they get it into the process. Because when we were looking at it, it was like, where did this come from? How did this come from? And it wasn't approved by the city, it was just somebody, well, I'm an employee of the city, I'm doing my job, I decide this is.
I'm
what
a
it
city
looks like.
resident.
Yeah, well, and to me, when it says approved by the city, that is the legislative body of the city. But
And the
if you throw in by
resolution is city council.
resolution, it does the same thing.
Yeah, but it's city council then.
Yeah.
Yeah. One is the front office, one is city council. Okay, so we have two changes to that A. One is after the first sentence, adding by resolution, and on the second sentence, adding as requested.
As requested.
And then we won't worry about the,
25 questions?
yeah, good.
Could be.
And then essentially, we'll just need to create a resolution, same way we did with registrations, adopting the large and small event application.
COLP-SE 824.
Good form.
And
Well-
LE.
Good form. Good form, bad
So,
form.
so further information for review, the city shall have the right to impose any condition pertaining to the public health, safety, and welfare upon its approval of the permit, and shall retain the right to immediately revoke said permit. So,
Where are you
We-
reading that from, Brian? I'm sorry.
it's,
from the
it's on the application.
Oh,
So if there's something like, wow, this is gonna be something we haven't seen, I'm gonna ask this. We have that right to impose any other circumstance that we feel if
For the
it's gonna
health,
be an
welfare.
event that,
Okay.
Is there,
Is that on short or on long only?
it's on the long and the short. Should be on both of them.
Where, is
So
it
where
under
on the short is
information
it?
or? in-
Number 3,
Oh,
page 3, further information for review by
Mine
applicant.
doesn't have page numbers on it.
I know, just mine, I'm just.
mine got confused.
so it's on the large event.
Oh,
It looks like this, if that helps.
Further information for review by the applicant.
certification.
Number 3.
Oh, it's down, okay, so it's there. So we need to add, in addition to the form name, we need to add
Oh, okay, there it is.
page numbers.
it's not on.
I would make that its own.
It's not on
line item,
short form.
Brian.
Yeah, it's not on.
I would put this one on both. Is it supposed to be on both?
Yeah, it's supposed to be on both, but,
It's on the other one too. It's on the short and the long.
I couldn't
It's
find it.
under number 3.
Yeah, it's under number 3 halfway through.
The city shall have the right to impose any condition pertaining to the
Oh, there
public
it is.
health safety.
I
It's on
think,
both of them.
I think
There
I
it
would
is.
make
It's
that
Where'd
a
you
4
find it?
versus
four?
3, because it doesn't quite,
Go back.
it's different than
Go
estimated
back.
number of people as well as
Oh,
estimated
where's
amount of
your,
alcohol.
where's your
Yeah,
instruction
I
page?
think it's some
Instruction.
separate
Okay.
Yep,
So the
but
instruction
is
page
it-
and then number 3.
In the information
Yeah.
for review, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
make it
Okay.
fine.
Thank you, Brian, it's very helpful to have, because you know what's on there, so
Yeah,
you
I-
can,
I can make that a number 4 on my save.
Just a little typo, we got an extra L,
Somebody else must have typed that, wasn't it?
obviously. Okay, so within that, with saying that we have the right to impose, is that somewhere in the ordinance as well? That we
Does
can
something like that
impose?
have to be in the ordinance for us? I mean,
And for it to be permissible,
I
and
mean,
that's just for that special circumstance that the medieval party comes back to town and we know that there's gonna be
Yes,
25,000
so the
people
answer is,
this
it
year.
is
It
in
is
the
in the
ordinance.
ordinance
The
under
city shall, and it
D.
says, public health, safety, and welfare, the city shall have the right to impose any condition pertaining
Okay,
to
yeah,
public
it's
health,
up there.
safety, and welfare. So
Yep.
which is actually what it says in there, so
Exactly what
that
you're
is
saying.
language from the ordinance.
just
and
wanted
that
to
is-
confirm that that was.
I think it should be, because otherwise, we're back to
Yeah,
somebody making up their opinion as opposed to the
So are you gonna
governing
make that number 4 on the small events?
I'll do it on both.
Yep.
So
Those-
that it has its own disclaimer,
Yeah.
it would make more sense.
So I'll just say
Yeah,
number
so-
4.
yep, that's all I want to be sure is that that was in our ordinance, because I think it should be in the ordinance and it should be on here. Mostly, I don't want someone to be like, well, there's nothing in the ordinance that says I can't do this.
And we just went through it, couldn't find it, so.
Yeah, so it's,
So,
it's
and
good.
one thing is they might be, I think they're the same. They're just kind of different. One says information for review by the applicant, the other one
Oh,
says
gotcha.
further information to review.
Gotcha.
Right.
Well, but I think on the short form in particular, and this is why I'm an advocate of having it front, you may use the short form if,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. Otherwise, like I said, if you go to like a 1040 EZ, you can use this form if, blah, blah, blah. If any of these apply, go to the long form.
So I just made the note that says, make this page 1.
Mhm.
So,
Okay?
Or, I mean, we could just have, I mean, I don't mind the instructions not being like page 1, because essentially the person that's getting this is going to receive guidance. I like what you said, where on the website, that's where you have those,
Right.
the breakdowns. And because
Okay.
realistically, the person that comes into the city and asks for this,
Should already
as
know.
you said, you're gonna
This-
ask questions and you're
Should
gonna figure out.
already know.
Should already
page
know which
one
one.
has all the information we use for the reservation to make sure it's been paid for.
Okay.
When we file it, page 1 is what we wanna see when we're looking for something.
Right, well, I agree though, that makes
Yep.
it easy.
No, I think just for, like, clerk status and like for tracking things, keeping this on the front makes sense.
Yes, I agree.
And then, one thing that would be nice is if we could add page numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I added that
Okay.
too.
Sorry, I'm sure it's repeating myself.
One thing we added to the form that's not in the resolution specifically is if you go to the fees talks about application review fee, $25. On the form, we've added non-refundable, that's actually come up.
Okay,
And I don't know that we would need to change it in the resolution itself. If council approves the form, then I think you.
Yeah, then we just-
do the
okay.
same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the fee structure, so.
And then if that's the case on the resolution, do we need to even have that fee? I guess we would. We would still need to have that.
Yeah. 'cause you
Establishment
can
of fee
set these by
schedule.
I would say add non-refundable just to be consistent. That's not.
So I'll change the resolution to say non-refundable?
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Wait, how is it already 4:30?
Holy- Okay, cool, good job.
It happens.
And that's okay to have to have an ordinance and 2 different resolutions is not a problem. Just-
Yeah.
Okay.
So you added the new form, the temporary use, that's a brand new form?
Or, so that's a brand new subject, so are
Yep.
we closing?
Yeah, I think
Are
that
we-
we're pretty happy and content with the applications.
Okay,
For small and large.
Right,
Yeah.
I'll make a couple changes on,
Yep.
I'll make a couple changes to the ones I have saved, and I'll email them to.
Yep, and we'll do
Everybody?
action items for resolutions and the minor tweaks of the ordinance.
An ordinance and 2 resolutions is what I see, right?
Yeah, resolution adopting the fees and a resolution adopting the application, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, resolution update for the fees,
okay,
Okay,
and then a resolution adopting forms. Then we have a paper trail for future generations.
love it.
okay.
All right,
Small fees, large fees,
so yeah, let's, move on to
do we need a,
temporary vendors,
So it's not a temporary, so
or I'm
we
sorry,
got
temporary use.
confused. It's a temporary use permit application. It's the same one we've been using for, I don't know how long, just tweaked to match our zoning. And after me doing it for a while, turning it into what it's for, which is the fee change. So this is for anything, whether it's a tent, a trailer, any type of temporary thing you wanna set up for more than 7 consecutive days in the city, you're gonna fill this out.
But it's gotta be for more than 7 days.
More than 7 consecutive days.
So there's nothing for, if they wanna come up and set up
For the weekend.
for the weekend. There's nothing they have to do.
No,
There's the temporary vendor form still.
they fill out a vendor form with the business registration.
Yep, so they,
There's a whole nother form that I think you guys are talking about.
yep,
This is just a temporary use for a spot, which is always on private land. They
or
can't,
location?
they can't do this on city-owned land,
Okay.
so this has to be on private land. The only thing it's allowing us to do is review for compliance with our zoning.
Okay.
So it's a $25, it used to be it was stages, if you're a level 1, the one that I kinda tweaked, if you're less than 7 days, it was free, but give us the paperwork. Well, I don't want paperwork if we're not gonna,
Right, so the
Recover
$25
Yeah.
review, right.
and so then the next step was if it's less than 6 months, or if it was less than 3 months, it was $150 to set up for 3 months. If it's 6 months, $400. So now you have a vendor that has come in, they're like, hey, we wanna set up for the summer. They're paying the full price for a business license. They're usually leasing a lot from a private individual, and then we wanna charge them $400 to set up their trailer on a private lot. Where I think all we're trying to do is just make sure they're compliant, just like we're requiring every business to be compliant.
So where I'm seeing where this whole discussion is authorized, and go back to, I get to
All right.
heading, is from our zoning regulations, and it's zoning, 4.4.20 dash, oh wait, actually it's gonna be further down than
It
that.
says 4-4-22G.
G.
yep.
Yes,
Right
G,
there,
so
temporary use building.
Oh, so it's actually, it is on here, yep, 22G. So here's what it says. Temporary, and interesting enough, so this actually says it's the zoning administrator, which right now is Brian and me. Temporary uses are allowed for a certain length of time that is determined by the zoning administrator and prescribed in the permit authorizing such use. The allowed duration of the use and any related structure should reflect the purpose of the temporary use. Temporary uses include but are not limited to, well, this makes me feel a little bit better because it lets me understand how the form of stuff we couldn't trace was put down anyway. Christmas tree sales, on-site construction office or construction equipment shed, community event, food and merchandise vendors, temporary real estate office, farm stand, or a short-term activity. The zoning administrator may approve a temporary use application for site or building fee. Use complies with an applicable standards of this ordinance. An approval of, so as I look at this, we are gonna need a resolution that sets the fee, because there isn't one.
There already is. It's resolution,
There is a resolution that
yep,
sets the fee?
it's the same one that all zoning fees are on, whether it's,
Okay,
and the building fees. Those are all set on one resolution. I don't know what it is right off the top of my
no,
head.
but I can find it with that information.
Yeah, you didn't write it down on.
Okay. So then, as I go through and read this, now here's something that's interesting, because we don't, this, I don't know, I know in practice this went away, but I remember this when I was on planning board. An approval for a temporary use shall expire in 6 months unless granted a one-time 6-month extension by the zoning administrator. Now, that is pretty straightforward, and that goes back to the days of La Palmita and his truck on the south end of town. Hey, come test it out and see if it's worth going to a brick and mortar. And I think that non-compete was part of that discussion.
There was.
But now, it says, after 1 year, a temporary use may be renewed and valid for not more than 1 year. An annual renew is subject to denial by the zoning administrator for good cause. So this is part of zoning. I don't know if you want to take this, Sandy. I don't know that I even have an opinion of what, but it ought to make up, it ought not to contradict itself.
Mm-mm.
And right now, it says you get 6 months with a one-time 6-month extension. And then after that, you get something else beyond the one-time extension.
Well, the way I
Well,
read
then
it,
by
after
then-
that, we can give you a 1 year.
Yeah.
Right.
No, 'cause
Because
you only
it's
get
still a-
one more 6-month extension, but then the following, you get a year extension. But you have to go for the full year.
So
You
the
can't do
first,
6 months.
the first 6 months is, yeah, hey,
Trial.
you're in compliance, everything's good, it's working. I'm gonna give you another 6 months to finish out the year.
And then how did it go?
And then after that, hey, you're still good? I'm gonna give you a year. You can have another year on this private property to have your business.
And then it goes yearly.
And then at the end of that year, hey, look,
Then
your
there's
garbage,
discussion.
your garbage has been an issue, this has been an issue, this has been an issue, we are not renewing this year.
Or it hasn't been an
That's the
issue
difference
and,
between this and a brick and mortar is, if they don't comply, we can
Nix them.
buy.
so here's a question, if they're not in compliance as, say, they're 3 months into their 6 month, you can pull that?
The registration fees already says if they're not in compliance, their business registration is
Registration.
no longer valid.
Yeah, we dug into that too. So
So,
we
but-
do have a,
Okay, that's what,
we do have a tooth that if for some reason you're not doing what we're requiring, we can pull your business
at
license.
any time.
Yep.
But if you pull their business license, now they just can't operate. But,
Well, if they pull the business license, then all this temporary is void, right?
Yeah, they're
Like,
not gonna have a
you have to
business.
have a
They
You have to
business
have the
can't-
business.
license.
Yep, they can't
Well, I'm
sell.
just saying, like, is that trailer still gonna sit there even though they're not doing business and be a nuisance?
Or is it annoyance?
Correct, but, well, if it's trash and public health and safety, that's a nuisance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need proof that this resolution you speak of exists. Because if I search on fees, or if I search on zoning or building, I don't find it.
Mm,
It's that lovely word.
he's on a mission.
Oh,
He's fine.
Do you
challenge,
think
yeah.
that this temporary
Challenge.
use permit application should have a business license number on it?
I think so.
It does not
I know
require,
he's got it on his board, I think he's got something that has the fees on the board, I'm hoping it's just the full resolution.
But I would think that the
include
temporary use review permit,
business
it should
number.
have the, yeah,
Business
the
license.
business license. Well, let me look.
Oh, wait,
It says-
there's,
Include business
Oh, did you
license
find
number.
oh, I found a city-owned property permit process.
Oh.
Review
I did a
fees,
search
the letter
for
from
fee, which is
property owner.
different,
There it is, has a city business license been issued?
If so, well, has it,
You're
that's
just gonna write
asking.
yes?
I found, I bet it's
Okay.
3406, community development.
Oh, no, it says right here, is a copy of your state issued.
That's different.
Yeah, that's different.
Well, then
Exhibit A
maybe we
is
should
not-
have the
Number
same.
3, number 3.
I think number 3.
I think number 3 should also read like, copy of your,
Honestly, there should be, I think, on here, right underneath the site review fee and such, and all these records, there should be a checkbox, same way that we have it for addendums on our contracts, like,
Mhm.
these are the additional documents that we will be requiring, or do you have these? So that way, right out the gate, they're like, oh, let me go get this, that.
well, and I
Yep.
think, I mean, isn't that kind of what these, go back to that
That's
page.
kind of what the questions are for, but instead
Right.
of having to do full questions, why not just have a
That's
checkbox
Exhibit A from
attached?
3406?
You can make it
34 to
even
30.
smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. you could just have little check boxes, little squares. Has
Check
the
boxes
business
and
license-
attach
We are,
them.
we are a
And then-
committee that likes boxes.
I love boxes.
And then
Big fan of boxes.
Is it available, what restroom, that was explicit. And the letter from, is that attached?
Okay, so yeah, here, let's see,
I knew which paper you were talking about, I thought it was gonna go.
scaled site plan,
All of these should be
additional
attached.
requirements.
These are all the attachments.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's covered.
So it could actually just say attachments required.
I hate to do this, guys, but your time.
Required
I know.
You
Oh my
got
gosh.
2 minutes to wrap up, so the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay,
so, action on this,
I'm gonna play around.
around with this a little
with the
bit.
little square boxes.
Oh, I almost wrote on this with the wrong pen, that would've been bad.
On the temporary use thing, we're just gonna say, required attachments, and then just put boxes. And then they can just check them off as they go, instead of having a whole sheet of, that has to be attached. They don't have to fill anything out, they can just check
I mean,
them
there
off.
should still be some, like, description of method to supply electricity, there's still gonna be some things that they need to provide
Right.
description.
And
But
that-
we can
That
revise
was,
that.
yeah, that was just something I typed up, so when they're filling this out, it's kind of like, did you do this before you brought it in?
And
That's
it's
fair.
Do
all
we
boxes-
have
fair.
this
All
before?
boxes must be checked. And you have to have
We'll
proof,
figure
you
it
have to have your proof
So-
of insurance, check.
Okay,
have to
so,
have your-
Well, the other thing I'm hearing about this is I go back and read the zoning,
mhm.
this doesn't come to council the way it's written.
It's temporary.
This is the zoning,
Is
this
it-
is the zoning administrator who
administrator.
does it, but that doesn't mean we don't want your blessing. If
But
you
we
any
have-
questions or concerns.
I have to have their blessing to change the fee to the 25 and
That's-
25.
so all the other stuff, we don't even have to look at it.
So you want to do 3430 second amended, is what we want to
Yes.
know. 3430 second amended.
And on the,
30,
3430
thank you.
3430
dash A, so it'll be 3430 second amended.
dash A, second
No,
amendment.
no,
No,
the
just kidding.
second amended will outdo
The dash A is
Got it.
amended.
Okay, so,
for
Okay.
30 second
so I
amended,
just said 3430 dash A amended.
No,
second amended,
All right,
3430, second amended.
what she said.
and all we're doing
And that's
is,
the fees for temporary?
we're getting rid of the 150, we're getting rid of the 400, we're getting rid of those 3 fees that are attached to this, and it's just gonna be a $25 review fee and a $25 site review fee.
Site review.
So $25 to go through the application, $25 for me to come to your site and make sure that you're meeting what you said in the application. You're meeting our zoning, there's no safety hazards, there's no,
So this is the class 1, class 2, class 3, we're
Yep.
just gonna have it be, what is it, 25 and,
$25 review fee and $25 site review fee. And that's where in the red I put additional review fee and/or site review fee may be required for extensions and new
And-
locations.
Because they might move to a different location.
Yep,
Yep,
so,
within their,
so after 6 months, if you wanna do this again,
you're gonna do another $25.
your site's good, I'm just gonna want a review fee.
Okay.
Or you decide to move to that side of town, I need a new site review fee, 'cause now I'm gonna look at your new setup,
Okay.
new property, are we still in
so I have
compliance?
a really silly question.
Mhm.
This says that this was updated effective June 28, 2023, and yet the resolution, okay, yep, that is this one,
Yep, I did that when I changed my plan review fee,
okay.
because plan review was way more expensive than what,
And then we're out of time, guys.
yep, so just a heads up for next time, we will talk about camping again. We'll review all of these resolutions and ordinances, take them to,
All right, so we just basically went over.
I amended the ordinance 911, the camping, that took out the commercial.
okay, can you
Okay.
send that to us?
I can, but I also have hard copies.
Do you have a hard copy for Brian also?
Sure.
The reason I ask is because we're currently doing another review of the subdivision thing for the, and down there, and it'd be nice to know where this is going, so we steer it in the right direction.
Okay, so
So-
we didn't talk
2
about.
o'clock tomorrow, by the way.
Camping, we'll talk about
Is that on the
again.
agenda?
Okay.
We'll talk about a planning board update from Sandy.
I'm not-
planning board.
I need to be there.
We'll probably continue to keep MOUs and leases as standing, as well as annexation updates, but we will get these resolutions done.
Priority.
as priorities, and then that way we can actually have them as a discussion next week, or next council
In
meeting,
2 weeks.
and then action the following.
The following.
Here.
Okay.
So we can move right along.
Surprised they're not pushing us out yet.
What is
All
it
right.
called, Alpine?
Well, half of
Yeah.
us is
Yeah.
here.
Alpine Lodge
What?
RV Park.
And that was the commercial
Slash
use.
RV park now?
Got it added to my calendar.
Is that new?
Oh, no,
Wait,
they,
am I invited? Can I come?
yeah, you're on the email.
Okay. It just wasn't a calendar invite.
It wasn't a
So-
calendar invite. It was,
All right, well, I'm gonna adjourn this meeting.
Yes.